Russia is taking its war from the battlefield to the wheat field in a struggle with Ukraine to ease global hunger and inflation. Since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian war, grain has been sitting in Ukraine's port. 22 million tons of grain stuck in Ukraine's Black Sea ports. And that has left a large portion of the world without food. It is also fueling high inflation. Russia ships most of the world's grain supply, followed by the U.S., Canada, France, and Ukraine. So to put this in perspective, the World Food Program buys half of its grain from Ukraine to feed the world's needy. NewsNation's Kellie Meyer joining us live in D.C. tonight. And Kellie, the UN, with the help from Turkey, brokered a deal on Friday to move the grain out of Ukraine's ports. Already that deal is in major jeopardy.
Yeah, that's right, Natasha. Less than 24 hours after that deal, Russian forces bombed Ukraine's largest port in Odessa. Russia says they hit, quote, military portions of the port, not where the grain is stored. And despite the attack, Ukrainian officials say their first ships filled with grain should leave this week.
We expect that the first ships may move within a few days.
UN leaders reassuring the deal is still intact. The deal allows Ukraine to move grain out of its ports through the Black Sea. But after Saturday's bombing of the Odessa port, many wonder if ships filled with grain will be safe.
This is just the consistent pattern of Vladimir Putin, this policy of atrocity, where we have, in this instance, an agreement, and then the next day Russia goes about undermining it, or at least trying to demonstrate that it's not going to abide by it, by the total letter of the agreement. We saw this with humanitarian corridors early in the conflict with Ukraine, where Russia would make an agreement with Ukraine to allow civilians to exit certain parts of the country, and then would begin to bomb those parts. So this is a bad faith negotiation by Russia.
The international community is cautiously optimistic, knowing Putin agreed to Ukraine exporting grain again, but never promising to make it easy.
Despite these attacks, we do understand that the parties are continuing preparations to open Ukraine's Black Sea ports for food and fertilizer exports. We are clear-eyed going forward, but we also continue to expect that the Black Sea Agreement will be implemented.
The deal is good for 4 months. Once the backlog of grain is moved out, the true test of Ukraine's ability to move around their war-torn country will begin. Moving gas to farmers and transport trucks and overcoming labor shortage issues. All hurdles the Ukrainian government must overcome to deliver grain. Meanwhile, as Ukraine gets ready to move food out of its ports, Russia is on a diplomacy mission to reassure it can deliver its grain to buying countries and to fix its international image. The Russian foreign minister is in Africa, attacking the U.S. and other Western countries for recent involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war.
There's a lot of irony here, let's just call it hypocrisy by Russia, which is Lavrov is going to countries and denouncing the United States as an imperialist power, as it is engaging in imperialism against Ukraine right now, militarily.
And as to those grain shipments and if they'll be safe once they leave Ukrainian ports, Russia entered this agreement with more than just Ukraine. It is internationally monitored and includes Turkey. So if Putin interferes with the shipments, he's breaking an agreement with many countries, which could bring more pressure to him. After all, on the line is getting food to starving people. Natasha.
An important piece of context. Kellie, thank you for that report.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.